I want to thank Patrick Peterson because he's joining us right now on the Arizona Sports Line. Patrick, what's going on?
What's happening, guys?
How you doing, Pepe? Yeah, I've got to ask you this right off the top, big guy. And I think I've asked you this before. Were you one of these guys that loved the bye? Did you love the bye, Pat?
100%. I hated the early buys. I loved the buys when they came like around week 8, week 12. I felt like that was the perfect time, especially if the season was going good, to kind of regroup. Get a nice little trip in somewhere if you can, and get back to the grind.
Patrick, if the season's not going well, it's been frustrating for the Cardinals so far with 5 straight one-score losses, and the last 2 to the Colts and Packers, who might be the 2 best teams in the league right now. How important is that bye? Like, how do you navigate it? How do you think this team's going to navigate it coming out of the bye now?
So now that was a different situation, with going into the bye being 2-5, and losing the game in the fashion that they was losing them. You want to do a lot of self-assessment, self-scouting, and understanding what can you do better, as a team to be able to win and close out those games. Because, like you said, Luke, the Cardinals had opportunities to win, all 5 of those games that they lost by, a score, or even, 2 or less points. You know what I mean? So going into this bye, I feel like Coach Gannon definitely gathered his team together and did a self-scouting report on themselves and seeing the areas that they can get better in.
Pat P., how important do you think it is the next 10 games for Kyler Murray and his career here as an Arizona Cardinal?
I mean, everybody always get their panties in a bunch when I talk about Kyler Murray, but this is big, you know what I mean? Just because of he's in year 7, and he's pretty much the cornerstone of this team, and everybody pretty much follows him. So he has to find a way to get this team out of a slump. I know that's hard to just put on one person, but at the same time, he is, the quarterback of this team, and he pretty much have the power to get this team out of the funk that they are in. So this is a very, very big 10-game stretch for him, because at the end of the day as well, this is no secret. Towards this part of the season, this is where he typically don't play his best football. So now he has an opportunity to change that narrative. Going into November, December football, to play his best football, to put the team back in positions and back in the position to make the playoff, because at the end of the day, they're still right there. You know what I mean? They still have an opportunity to play every team in their division. They just have to, do what they need to do to finish out game and win games.
Talking to Patrick Peterson. Patrick, you may have kind of answered what I was going to ask here next, but I think a lot of us look and we're like, okay, well, for Kyler, that means the Cardinals have to make the playoffs. Now, to your point, one guy can't completely control that, and they're in a hole right now. They got some ground to make up in this division. So if he is stepping up and he's raising his game, what in your mind does that look like here over these next 10 games?
Honestly, to me, it starts with body language. I feel like, as a quarterback, a lot of people look, well, not a lot of people, a lot of guys on the team look to see how you carry yourself. Because Coach Rapone used to always tell me this: the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. And again, he's the quarterback, and he may not. It just comes that comes with that title. That job as the quarterback, the CEO of the team, the captain of the team, because he do have a C on his chest. So therefore, the speed of the leader is always going to be the speed of the pack. So therefore, if he's continuing to not have good energy and cheering his teammates up, the team is going to continue to look the way that it's looking. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to say that. I know fans hate to hear me talk about Kyler Murray, but this is the things that we need to see in order for the team to turn around, and it starts with him.
Yeah, it does. Pappy, where do you think this defense needs to get better? Specifically, where do they need to improve?
I'll probably say getting to the quarterback more often. I believe first, early on in the game, they make a lot of noise. Sweat and the guys, they're getting to the quarterback. But throughout the game, I feel like that kind of dwindles. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's halftime adjustments, but, it all starts with the guys up front. I don't care how you cut it, because the guys have to start to run up front. And in order for the quarterback to have a bad game, you have to get to him and get him off his spots and things like that. So getting to the quarterback is number one, in my opinion. It's always been like that. And I feel like if you can find a way to marriage your rushing coverage, then that's when you'll start to see, more turnovers, more 3-and-outs, in a much more defense that's playing together, playing on a string. And I believe if they are able to do that, especially going into this game against this high-power Dallas offense. I know it wasn't as high-powered last week, but if you saw that game, that's what, that's, honestly what helped the Denver Broncos make the Dallas offense look so, elementary, because they was able to get to Dak, force him in some ill-advised throws, and taking the ball away from him. So if the Cardinals are able to get to the quarterback, in these last 10 games, the defense can see a lot more turnovers happening.
Talking to Patrick Peterson. Patrick, when you have a run like this where, they could easily have won any of these 5 games. So there's some good there that they're playing some really good teams that closely, but it's also, it's a gut punch every week, it seems like, going into the bye week. As a team, how difficult is that to maintain collective confidence and motivation? Does that come from leadership or coaches, or, what kind of fuels that now going into the second half of the season?
The bye week for one, you know what I mean? And also I'll probably say the leaders, the guys that's in the locker room, the guys, that have an opportunity to look each other in the face each and every day, being each other's brothers' keepers. Because at the end of the day, that's who is gonna turn this thing around, the players, not the coaches, because the coaches are not out there, snapping the ball to Kyler. They're not out there making tackles. They're not out there making the catches. They're putting guys in position to be successful. So at the end of the day, it's going to fall back on the players to go out there to get themselves out of the hole, and also, count on one another. That may even come. I remember when I was there, we used to watch film on Fridays. You know what I mean? Just to make sure, as a defense, make sure that everyone understood the game plan. Everyone understood where the next guy was going to be. I wanted to hear the linebackers communicating to the defensive line, because those are some of the things that we were going to do. So that may be something that they need to do as well. Just get some extra film study time in and watching film together to make sure that they're all on the same page.
Pat P., Garrett Williams' 21-day practice window has opened up. What do you think he's going to bring to the Cardinals defense?
Oh, man, Garrett's going to bring that energy. He's going to bring that passion, and he's a guy that definitely that we was missing on the defensive side of the ball. So getting him back into the lineup, getting a player like him, adding him, back with Buddha, and Calais in the game, is just going to make that defense that much better. So, he's a guy that's always in the backfield, that's always around the ball, and you're always, his presence is always missed. So to get him back in the lineup, I believe the defense is going to be that much better and that much faster.
Patrick, it's always great talking to you, man. We appreciate
this.
Thank
you, Pat P.
All right, guys. See you next week. Actually, I'm coming to the game Monday, too, so I might see you guys Monday night.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right.
Thank you, bro.
Right, guys.
Thank you, Patrick. That's Patrick Peterson joining us right there on the Arizona Sports Line. Good stuff there from him, as always.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.